passed away in 2000. In the village of Lengua, Princess Tong, at the age of 18, was the leader of his own steel band, commenced his singing career in 1960. And as he mentioned in the interview, you know, he was a star boy or a Calypsonian that frequented places like Barrackpore, Pinal, and the villages around Princess Tong and Lengua, in particular, Moruga, all those places. So he was a country Calypsonian early in the days. He also mentioned early, due to his height, his friends and family initially called him Shorty. And when he became a top Calypsonian, or when he considered himself a Calypsonian, he changed his name to Lord Shorty. The first congregation he entered was in Princess Tong, and the first calypso he composed was about the marriage of Mrs. Briggs, an 84-year-old lady to a 24-year-old man. Kaylin, yeah, Kaylin, you hear that? Mrs. Briggs, is she from South, yeah? Is she from South? Mrs. Briggs from South. Shorty won the Calypso King contest in Princess Tong, which again gave him some more impetus to continue here. Lord Shorty was crowned Princess Tong Calypso King at the Carnival Fiesta and Carnival Queen show held on Wednesday night. Won not only a king's crown, but a queen's kiss. Attractive Miss Joyce Dunmere, Miss Princess Tong, 1962, kisses Lord Shorty on the cheek shortly after he was crowned king. Lord Shorty was crowned 2 nights earlier, won the Princess Tong competition from a field of 5 contestants. So I left this here because there are some steel bands in town who are boasting that they are the first band to win the Carnival Parade of the Bands competition. Some bands, I won't call the names of the bands who have that, who continue to in their inaccuracies of Carnival history. So I want to remind them that in 1963, a band by the name of Silver Stars played Gulliver's Travel, and the records will show the first steel band to win the Parade of the Band, Carnival Band of the Year. And they will tell you that because some guy named Russell Charter was the designer of the band, it nullifies Silver Star's victory. But then again, you expect that from that band. Moving on. Here's a picture of Miss Jacinta Briggs, the 84-year-old lady who married the 24-year-old man.
There's hope for everyone.
That's a real thing?
Yes, a real thing. But what trouble is So can you think I make up that?
Well, that had to believe. I know.
Right, but look at you. And that is why documentation is important. Because if I had not shown this picture, you would have gone away probably with the view that Shorty and I creating stories.
Mm-hmm.
And it says very clearly, Mrs. Jacinta Briggs, just out of the Second Superior Police Court, where she withdrew complaints laid against her husband, Ozzie Briggs, for desertion and maintenance yesterday morning. The sensational 84-24 marriage in September 1960 seemed to have gone on the rocks late last year, where Miss Briggs took her husband to court. But yesterday, she told Magistrate Cameron Dean, I want to give my husband one last chance to make a success of our marriage. As she asked to leave to withdraw the complaints, her request was granted. So she gave him a chance. I mean, he had plenty of time to catch up.
But did he want the chance?
That's another story, they didn't say, but apparently he deserted her, so likewise. Maybe when he recovered from his stupor, he realized, hey, I need to go to this. But anyway, I know from Miss Briggs.
Doctor, you could see we had soap operas going on long before, you know, As the world
on
turns
television.
and young and restless and thing, you know.
Oh yeah, we had that on radio. We had Dr. Paul and all these things, and people used to listen
Yeah,
to
man,
on radio
Mrs.
station.
Briggs.
Yeah, but Katie and Mrs. Briggs is real, or was real.
It is.
Lord Shorty, the New South Trinidad Calypso King, delivered one of his two tunes during the show held at the Naparima Bowl Paradise Pasty on Monday night. Shorty won from a field of 9, his tunes being 16 Commandments and a tribute to Dr. Rutenat Capildio. That's in 1963 when he won the South Calypso King title. Again, King because in those days, the word monarch didn't apply, it was not gender ready yet. Because I guess many men were participating or competing at that level. During the period 1963 to 73, Lord Shorty endured the sufferings of the average Calypsonian, having to pay dues and witnessing negative attitudes of some musicians and Calypsonians who were unprepared to inject life into Calypso. And he talked about that in his meeting with Ed Watson, when Ed Watson told him that Calypso dead, they're into reggae, and reggae will save the world, and and he was, and as he mentioned, you could hear in his voice, he was very upset that the man of the statue of Ed Watson would have harbored thoughts of the demise of the Calypso during that period. In 1970, and this is an important piece of history concerning the evolution of Skinner Park. In 1970, the Calypso Association then fell out with the CDC, and they protested against the treatment and payment that were met out to the Calypsonians. As a result, they marched to Port of Spain, and they boycotted all of the CDC shows, and they staged their own Calypso tent monarch competition in Skinner Park. 4 tents agreed initially. The Young Brigade, Kitchener's Review, Blakey's tent, Victory, and the Southern Brigade. However, a week before the final, Blakey withdrew his tent. It appeared that there was some compromise between him and the CDC officials. And 3 tents continued with the competition, and Shorty emerged winner of that competition in 1970. Shorty's Calypso King of the Tents. Again, it was the first major show, or the first major Calypso show that was ever staged at Skinner Park.
So that was like a final.
That was the final. They had both the semi-final and the final at Skinner Park.
Okay.
And because those days, the Fiesta was staged at Naparima Bowl.
Yeah.
According to Lord Shorty, 1970, Calypso was what Soca is now. The language was jumping a band, shake your pam pam, and he went through that in the interview, how it didn't represent anything he stood for. And the encounter between Lord Shorty and Ed Watson commenced the evolution of Soca from Calypso. Again, these are taken from the interview that's in the book. And he explained, I began searching for something to make Calypso better. The idea I had in mind was to put Calypso in a manner where you could sing sentimental songs. Now, I don't see Njani as a sentimental song, but I think the idea in his head was to have a love and emotions, positive love and emotion expressed through the Calypso. And so that, and like he said, like Romeo and Juliet, where you could actually tell a woman, I love you, I would not sound harsh as the Calypso mix was sung in them. Or that concept, the Calypso and Njani was realized, and Soca music was born. So the first Soca recording, or first Soca release, was in Njani in 1973. According to him, Njani was more than a Calypso. It was the fusion of the instruments of the major ethnic groups in society, and at the time it aided in reshaping the Calypso art form. And in both interviews, you saw where he went up in great detail explaining how this thing started and why he wanted it done that particular way. In Johnny was such a success in 1973 that in 1974, my first album, Love Man, I put an East Indian flavor in every one of my calypsos. And as a result of such a move, you wouldn't believe the amount of criticism I received. Again, he talked about that in great length in terms of how they shout him down. They say trying to play Indian, he mashing up the calypso with the Indian strippiness. If you so want to be in India, why don't go India and sing calypso, and all kind of story. This is when he began to dress, and as he talked about, and I particularly like the part where he talked about Sparrow and how the Sparrow was perceived by the other Calypsonians. And when you look at some of the pictures of the 70s and 80s of Calypsonians, you could see the consistency in style, where they all, not all, but majority of them dressed similarly. And as Shorty was saying, it emanated from Sparrow's wardrobe. Because when you go on stage, especially if you belong to the OYB tent, then you had to look a certain way. And how he made that conscious effort to not look like Sparrow, to not talk like Sparrow, to not smile like Sparrow. I thought that was very informative. And it shows how he had a desire to be different, to be his own persona.
Dr. Ashley, can I say something here?
Sure. Katie, you can say
Right.
something anytime.
In his quest to be different, right? And he knew the popularity Sparrow had, and he made attempts, very deliberate attempts to be different. And then when he got the rewards of that, he wasn't satisfied. He didn't like it, because that's when he mentioned, I'm talking about where he mentioned the sexual relations, right, with people. So you see the example before you, who is Sparrow, and what was happening with him. You wanted, you meaning Shorty, wanted the same thing, but his original twisted. And then you get it kind of had me a little confused as to this is what you wanted. Why you're upset at the end?
Okay, I hear you, but I think basically what you're saying, he wanted uniqueness. He wanted individualism. He wanted to be, and he saw himself, just as he pointed out to Sparrow, he was also a star. He didn't feel that he should be a co-star. He felt, I guess, in his own willpower, he felt that he was as good as Sparrow, and therefore you don't have to dress like Sparrow or look like Sparrow. The trouble or the challenge he had with the woman or the new image he created was, as he said, he lost a relationship, or he lost that sense of friendship with women, whereby it moved from friendship or interchanging ideas or socializing with women to just sex. So I guess, and if you know, some of the stories around that time about Shorty was that during Carnival he would rent a room on Holiday Inn, and he would spend the 6 weeks in Holiday Inn, and every night there would have been a different woman visiting. So that, yes, I can see in the context that, yes, as you rightly say, he wanted it, he get it. And that's human nature. When you realize you get it, and what were the negative state, you realize that is not what we really wanted. But sometimes we have to get sometimes we get what we want to teach us a lesson. And as one of the Korean Ashe made very popular, be careful what you ask for. You know, so that he wanted it and he asked for it and he get it, and then he realized, hey, this is not the life for me. You know? Yes, Shirley.
You know, I'm seeing what Kadeen is saying, because you never hear Sparrow say anything like that.
Sparrow said the more the merrier.
Yes, Sparrow say he's glad the American soldiers leave Trinidad, right? 10 to 1 is murder when he go on, you know. But I don't think Shorty could have handled, though, what was, because what we know some facts, which I wouldn't say right now, but where he and the woman and the wife having to sleep on the floor, she actually spoke about these things, and the woman on the bed, and she can't, you know, say anything about it. And we really thought of this is the other side to the entertainment world, you know. So it's really your own persona and how you deal with certain things when it comes to you, like Kadeen was saying. you know. You wanted it, you know, because daddy wouldn't talk to having sung at OYB. Some of the things they had to put up with Sparrow, you know, and you know, it was amazing. If you're getting too much encore, that was a problem. So I could see how this whole thing, if you don't have the knack to deal with it, you know,
Yeah, it's a
My jumping in here now. I jumping
yeah.
in the dance. Do
jumping.
you really think that he wanted that lifestyle of the wine, women, and song, or
Yes,
he wanted,
Yes, yes.
he wanted the individuality, but then the volume of what happened after, because I remember in the interview he would have said that the change of that black jumpsuit is what invited that into his life, which that statement, in my interpretation, said to me, I could be wrong. Um, he knew that there was a chance, but he didn't really cater for the chance. If you understand, that's how I got it. I don't know. I could be wrong,
I
and I will
think
stand correct.
the key word you used there was volume.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
he did.
he recognized he wanted it, and because you know, as an artist, as a superstar calypsonian, I remember those days, they were like the Bungies and the Marshalls of today. They represented stardom. And
Mm-hmm.
so he expected that with that stardom, that newly acquired stardom, he will be more in demand. And then his whole imagery was the love man. And, you know, so that came with it. But I think the volume, maybe the easy access, maybe, and then he provided avenues for it by he lived his original home out of Lingua was in Marabella, but he rather than go Marabella, he stayed at the Holiday Inn. Now, if you so don't want to handle this thing, then you go home quick. As you're done perform, you run home. Like Idols do and Christianers do. I see Christian leave the show right after you perform to avoid the volume. Avoid the volume so that yes he wanted it, but I think he couldn't handle it when he realized it was lucky in some way in that you want something to get it, but then you know, his lifestyle was affected. But what critical to that change wasn't necessarily the woman thing in terms of volumes in Trinidad. I think a critical part was in 1977 when he went to Toronto, when they had a tour to Toronto with his new band and left Vibrations International. They went to Toronto, they went to Montreal for Montreal Carnival, and then they went to Toronto for Caribana. But during that period, um, Maestro died, which affected him greatly. Plus, the tour, the concerts that they had were not very successful. As a matter of fact, certain people had to, as we say, trump up money to bring him and the band back to Trinidad. In the September of 1977. So economically, things weren't going this way. Then I guess when he did some self-evaluation, he realized, hey, all this woman, all these things ain't happening. You know, I better address the issues in my life. So you know, there's a time when we all have to go to that level where we have to reassess and evaluate and say, what I'm doing, is it the right thing? Is it the incorrect thing? How do I handle or move forward? So those three things, the Maestro's death, the volume of women, and I like that word, revenue, but volume, I think that was critical. And also financially, they weren't doing well on the tour to Canada.
Doctor,
So
I
those three
think
things.
too the temperament of the woman, because I stood next to my dad.
Tell me the temperament of the woman. I'm really not familiar with
grab and
women's
take.
temperament.
In those days, I saw it with my own eyes. My cousin came with her man to OYB tent. You know how it used to be situated where it is on Ryson Road. Stood right by the pavement and the gate with her man. Looked up and saw explainer and said, I'm going and get that man tonight.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how she didn't get licks from by that party to then, and that's it. And he ended up living in house with my cousin explainer. I can tell you all this. I stood and see how women rafted my father. You know, it was like a real, I often wondered about if this is the way to behave, you know. Of course, some women would have played the nice thing and still end up with the same man or whoever. But I have seen our women in action. We're not easy when we're going after Calypsonians back in the days, and even now with the younger people. You know,
Yep.
now we have security and we have what and what, but I could tell all you, we're not easy, we're nice like that.
Right? Katie, you support that?
Yes.
Katie,
But-
I'm not hearing you.
Well, Shirley is speaking from a point of experience. She was there.
Yeah,
But,
good.
but Katie, you're wrong. You're wrong. You've been church and all about your seating.
I don't see women running down men in church.
Yes.
Where Chivin gone?
Trip.
No, right here. I was just going to unmute. Okay, did you just leave too early? I linger a little bit. You will see it.
Don't mind Katie up. Katie play one day to get Kobo alive. Katie, a girl. Anyway, let us move on. Okay, and Johnny was more than a calypso. It was the fusion of instruments of the major ethnic groups in society. And at the time, it aided in reshaping the calypso art form. But with new ideas and innovations, both the concept and inventor are usually recipients of abuse, ridicule, and disfavor by a fickle public who find it difficult to accept change. So that in all, I think what Shorty basically saying, when you create something or when you do something differently, open your mind to get challenges, to get negative criticism, to get criticisms, negative, to be critique, and to learn to deal with it. Otherwise, you'll have some problems. Because the public is like that, especially in cultural things. The public can get used to a particular art form, a particular style, a particular structure, and when you tamper with it, then they want to know why you're doing it. You want to mash up the thing. One of the issues though is that I have, and I will say that until we finish. Let's take a note of it here. The issue with Shorty. Could you hold on for a second? Yeah. Yeah, those may know. Just the balcony and the upper deck will be one. Sorry about that. If we go on to the next slide. And well, we heard enough of this. Everybody said I was playing Indian and I messed up the calypso music. And the Indian drum can't work in the music. And they ball me down, they chant me down. And here's again, one of the stories, one of the pictures to support his stories of him being involved with the Indian music, and where he is Lord Shorty. Belsound Kiloji, one of his popular Indian songs, Kiloji, which was in 1974. Shorty says, Johnny helped me to make money. And this was at Skinner Park, San Fernando, when Sparrow Young Brigade made their first appearance down south. So this is the jumpsuit, Shirley.
Yeah.
And this is my partner here who really with the what they call this, the tabla.
Yeah.
But,
It's funny now how we incorporate all of that in the calypso, and it's okay.
Dolak.
Dolak. The tabla is the one that hit together.
Yeah.
The tabla is about
The small,
2 or 3 drums on the floor. You play that on the settle.
Right.
Tabla is more classical music. Dolak is more kind of Trini, chutney kind of thing.
Okay. And that is why Pan they wanted to be the national instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. No, I think that's what they thinking. All right. The Love Man album was not a success, however. The following year, I took the East Indian Dolak and took the rhythm structure and put it on the drum set. So it didn't have no Indian drums in it, but the music changed because I used the same feeling, and that is how Soca was born. And that same feeling, as I said before, was that creative sentiment of love and emotional vibes, and that he wanted to bring in the music. Interestingly enough, in 1973, on the March Gras show, Shorty was charged with indecency by the police for his rendition of the calypso, The Art of Making Love, and for his performance at the March Gras show. That show he sang those two calypsos, The Art of Making Love and Intrani. However, prior to the charges being laid against Shorty, calypsonians Chogdas, Kitchener, and Blakey had objected to Shorty singing that calypso because they had perceived the calypso to be lewd and a contravention of the terms of the contract that they had signed in order to appear on the March Gras show. So, and again, sometimes one wondered whether it was the jealousy of the popularity of Shorty in 1973 with Indrani, because everybody was into Indrani and The Art of Making Love. There were two extremely popular calypsos. And Shorty and Kitchener and Blakey, they objected and they used the whole terms of the contract to lay their protest against him being selected to the March Gras. However, before that, Kitchener, Blakey, and Chogdas also objected to Sparrow's School Days, which Sparrow sang. They were against Sparrow's song because people were saying it was an old song, even though they had no evidence of that. So that, that has always been the mix in the calypso thing. One's popularity during a season you could endure some the wrath of your colleagues, your fellow calypsonians. And also, some of them even find ways to discredit you. I remember in 2007, for example, when Croco won with not telling you when I'm leaving or something like that. You're not going to know when I'm going. A song about when he travels, you're not telling people, and they're just big outcry about, for many calypsonians, that it was an old song he bring back, and the thing, and thing. So, those things don't change.
The other day they were talking about one that Uncle Chucky sang was a old song from since when,
Oh yes. 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 I think it was in 2009.
Sometime.
Yeah. It seems to be very prevalent in the art form. All right. However, the CDC overruled the objections to Shorty's appearance on the March Gras show. As a result, Kitchener boycotted the show. Kitchener said, I ain't going there. And there's some interesting phases in Kitchener's life that, that paints a different picture from the perfect kind of gentleman, the excellent calypsonian. But there's some things about his social contract that leaves a lot to desire. For example, when he orchestrated the 1998 boycott of the semifinals when Coco and a few of the new people weren't selected, and he put my partner Penguin under some pressure. That was interesting, Anyway. So Shorty was charged under Section 55 of the Summary Offences Ordinances, as amended by Section 38 of Ordinance number 54. So the charges stem from all these things that under the Summary Offences Ordinances: indecent attire by performer, lewd or suggestive dance, use of profane language, ridicule in public of any individual section of the community. I wonder what they will do when they watch these Soca monarch in terms of indecent attire.
You understand?
or lewd or suggestive dance.
Yeah, boy.
You're reading my mind. Because I just got to unmute my mic to go back to the question Chrison had posed in the chat about being a look.
Being a what?
There being a look.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering if this is in the era of Nelson,
Mm-hmm.
How would he be? This one would be charged for indecent attire by a performer, and the other one, if you understand. So I would just that's the kind of questions that's going through my mind. And then when you look at, I'm wondering now if this law or ordinance is still in effect.
It is, but they mainly use it for use of profane language. And recently, a couple of Jamaican artists and this one have been charged under the same law, but on use of profane language, not the suggestive dance. And I guess it's difficult to prove in court unless there's a video recording of the suggestive dance or the attire. But it's always
was it Fireball who had cursed?
Yes, Fireball, one of the last guys who endured this ordinance.
I knew about the profane language, but I'm looking at now at the indecent attire. And what you see some of these young soca artists, the females especially.
Yep.
On stage wearing one. And
I
then
agree, come out, yes.
Yeah.
Again? What is that?
Oh, you come back with the dress.
I say I agree, come back out, yes.
Yeah.
I wrote charges on the ordinance 53.
Look, Christian. Let us remain. Yeah, and then I'm looking at how some of the male artists will be performing with members of probably the dance backup or female patrons from the audience, and so then we're really in a messed up society, yes.
I'm sorry, Trev, it ain't easy, girl.
Don't try to figure it out. That's as David would say, roll with the punches.
Yeah.
On that night at the show, the Mascot show, Prime Minister Dr. Williams ordered Mr. Ivan Williams, or the chairman of the CDC, to give him an explanation within 24 hours why Lord Shorty was allowed to sing the art of the Mascot.
He's an ex-black jacket one, Eric.
No, you have to understand. And again, if you read the book, you will get the full story. But one of the things Eric said was that here he was sitting in the grandstand with Norman Manley's wife, who would come to Trinidad for Carnival, and she was a guest of the Prime Minister. And you had this tall, lanky man have his middle finger in the air, talking about Scoogie Woogie. So Eric felt embarrassed that in a public place, the man could be demonstratively demonstrating sex in a public place like that. And therefore he asked for this thing. But it would not have gone unnoticed from Shorty. But here's Kadeen, take some notes. Kadeen?
I'm here. I'm right here.
You have a pen and paper? I want to share this with some of your male friends.
Lord.
Christian, you can pick up that song quickly.
All right.
Kadeen, where you going? Going to use the
here.
Pen and paper. You're here. Trevor, what do you think about this song?
I now read it. I never knew it, so I probably was. Yeah.
You'll hear it now then.
Okay. Never heard it.
It's really a pro-female song.
So how could Shorty not want the ladies not to grab him? You understand?
Exactly. He created his own trouble. And then you want to run from it.
And then Eric playing posture.
I could have imagined that lady grabbing her purse, clutching her purse.
La la la. Stop making is an art. You are.
What's that?
You get you?
You're not in it?
No.
Go again.
I have to stop sharing?
I didn't think so. But me, yeah, stop now.
Yeah, because not hearing it. I try now and see.
La la la. Love making is an art. Few of us master. Some men can't even start to kindle their woman's fire. Continuously, they leaving the poor woman on the shelf and always in a hurry, only satisfying themselves. Now when she walk out and go, they can't understand that she left for lack of complete satisfaction. But your woman could never leave you as long as she lived. If you play it smart and practice the art from this expert advice I'll give. Listen, if you want to be your woman feel which you have to feel. First dim the lights, then squeeze her tight. Whisper in her ear, stick your finger in her hair. Suck she lip, massage she hip. Then you move your pubic section in a slow circular motion. As she eye gets sleepy, Papa, it's time to scoochie woogie. Women act differently, I know, according to their race. You'll find some women noisy anytime, any place. And then some are so reserved in all their doings. Although vibrantly being served, they cover their eyes and wouldn't say a thing. The Spanish and Chinese will scratch you like they have claws. The Indians, the whites, the Portuguese, mister, all is yours. But with a Negro or a Douglas, you're in for a fight. And I can tell you, brother, they're full of figure, Lord, they have appetite. But listen, if you want to make your woman feel the way she love to feel, take a nipple in your mouth, that does tickle all about. Listen to her breathing, and if she gasping like she's strangling, don't stop, continue. Tell her what you're going to do. Talk to she and make she answer. That, my friend, builds the fire. You must groan and grind your teeth. And leave me she's sour, tell she's sweet. It is a risk, I agree, pushing your tongue in some woman air, because sometimes it's so waxy, them and all catching the tail to hear. So a man must have stamina and a strong constitution, because being a lover, believe me, takes a lot of man. Imagine you kiss your girl and get a piece of bake, she had quite a while. The expert lover will swallow that with a smile. And if she raise she hand and she arm smell like stale potato, you must ask she, darling, chunkans, bunkans, punkans, how you could smell like so. Listen, if you want to make your woman feel the way she love to feel, you got to take your time, let she do all the grind. And if she tell you wait, oh gosh, wait, don't stop, you're doing great. Keep on the move, stay in the groove. Now don't forget this nice middle finger, this fat magnificent finger, always keep it handy in case of emergency. When a man going down in age, he gets panicky, because that is the stage he's afraid of losing his virility. But pleasing a woman only takes common sense and wit. You don't have to be Superman, just know what to do and how to do it. Some men old they can make, but see them in the dark, packing in fuel, trying to get a spark. Man, this is go tell you she prefer take a hot dog anytime from a Chinese man. But listen, if you want to make your woman feel the way she love to feel, and you're feeling old, perhaps your engine run cold. I know you may feel you want stimulant, that is important. If you feel shorty lying, go look for Panther, ask him. You could do the same thing like Panther. Find a girl who is a sport lover, take her to the savannah to see hockey or cricket and soccer. Oh la 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 la, la la doy, la la la.
Okay, that's the man. A big man in the business.
Doctor, who won the
Aye.
crown that year?
73, who's that boy? 71 or short, or 72. Okay, all right, no, I can tell you in 2 minutes. 73 was
Sparrow 173.
Sparrow.
I believe so.
I still remember that one. 72 was Sparrow.
Sparrow.
Yeah, I did when he came back in 71, in 72, 73, and 74.
Okay. So I was now going to say the crown we wrong man.
Yeah, well, remember the strategy was to have the protests so CDC and the judges will have already been influenced.
Yeah, boy. Because that's a real calypso.
Oh yeah, that's Calypso. So, Trippy, what do you think about Calypso?
Interesting.
I like your description.
Interesting. I
Look
first
at
time
the
I'm
future
actually
politics
hearing it.
now.
Oh, you never heard
Tristan?
before, Trev?
I think you could look into our future in politics, you know.
Yeah, Trippy, yeah.
So, I think so.
Yeah, politically correct all the time. I will ask the next person that question at
Leave
all.
me alone.
We'll ask that person that at all.
I think I understood why he gathered his volume from that song.
Well,
He
yeah,
would have attracted the women because they became curious about.
if you have all this knowledge and skills.
Yes, and then he talked about the different races and so that you know, take a little man, he can really live up to what he's saying.
Trev Gill?
He asks for it and he get it.
Yeah.
So
He
Chris
didn't
on,
want it in mass. He just wanted a few.
big wary of stardom, eh?
Yeah, I guess.
Chris on.
I don't have that worry, so. Stardom is so far removed from me, I don't have to worry about it.
Okay, very good. All right.
But if that song was sung in 2021, it would have been easily accepted.
Oh yeah, yes. This era, yeah, that would be that would be played on the radio.
Yeah. So
It's a different
that's
thing.
offensive.
Yeah, and again, you know, only people might object to it now with the feminists, the woman show, and these people might object to it now because it may be perceived as if it's putting women in a very oppressive role or a non-involved role, describing them as sex subjects, you know, and what the man doing. So the woman is just a non-engaged participant, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. Anyway, let me leave the woman and them and everything. Okay, I won't go to the chorus, but for you all just hear it. But there's some interesting rhyming. First dim the light, then squeeze her tight, whisper in the air, stick your finger in her hair, suck she lip, massage she hip, then you move your pubic section in a slow circular motion. Actually, I get sleepy. Papa, it's time for scoochie woochie, whatever that is. But the rhyming is excellent in terms of the composition. Okay, so he was charged under the Ordinance 50, Section 55 of Ordinance 54. His fine was, the offense was $48.
That's certainly.
Hi.
This song, listen, right? In my humble opinion, I think this song and the reaction it brought was kind of hypocritical because the man didn't lie in the song. It's all the truth.
How you know that he didn't lie?
Okay, that's all my contribution.
But you see, you're contributing, you're not contributing.
That's just my opinion. He did not lie in the song.
So what was hypocritical about it? The public that was hypocritical?
Yes. Why you had to find the man? What you're jealous of the man? That people like the man? No, the man talking the truth. He's singing the song. Yeah.
I didn't know your voice could raise so loud.
Okay.
Uncle Chucky and they were not as sexy.
No, they may want that song at all. Okay, so that even the earlier on the Pavan Sagweek one, Hindu cultural organization also attacked Shorty for his rendition of Indrani. So in his popularity, he had to deal with different issues. And that is the nature of our society.
That's the nature of popularity.
I guess so. It goes to the territory. Yeah. I remember when Brian made the first world record in 1994, I think. He had to deal with, all of a sudden his name became public, and then people started, like, I guess when you become public, you'll be easy to be examined and scrutinized. So everything that he did before didn't count. All of a sudden, you go down by Smokey and Bunty in those days, and Lara there, and you have a game next 2 weeks, and you come on the game and make a duck. Well, 2 weeks, he let me down by Smokey and Bunty. What do you expect? Those kind of things that, Africa public.
But doctor, remember when Daddy sang Innocent Jimmy? And we were like ridiculed. First time on the front page of the papers in my short pants because I was a prostitute on stage, and they say how
we dance with his daughters like that.
We encouraging incest and all of that. And that was the year the tent made the most money. People came just to see the act, and as we dancing, sometimes they would leave and clap, and carry on. Yeah, that was one of the biggest album sellers before Galaxos. So it's just amazing.
Yep, according to creating a hypocritical society we live in.
That's the thing.
However, on Friday, the 16th of March, 1973, the front page of the Express newspaper read, Shorty of making love clear. The Attorney General dropped charges.
Let's drop the charge.
They dropped the charge after public pressure.
He learned a thing or two, you understand?
For Carnival 1974, Shorty responded to the Prime Minister's querying song by singing a calypso entitled Reply to the PM. Now, I don't know if this is on YouTube, question, but I have it somewhere, so maybe next week I'll probably play it for you. It's an interesting how Shorty interpreted the Prime Minister's whole questioning of that whole event. So, the calypso is not going to take that scrutiny and not respond. So he did respond to the Prime Minister. I remember when he also changed his fate in 1978, people started to say how the Prime Minister put him out on him. That's why he ended up, so anybody who bad talk the Prime Ministers end up in a particular way. After 74,
I think it might be there.
All right, but give us a quick one now. So I'll just stop sharing again, right? Okay.
You'll tell me busy right song.
newspapers around the globe wrote about the Prime Minister sex probe. Never before in our history has one calypso caused such a controversy. I did my best to try and educate my people, but my good intentions were made to look so terrible. How it all began, believe me, I cannot comprehend. All I know is my calypso somehow offended the PM.
Cause I hear him say, Ivan Williams, I want to know why this love making calypso must put on the Masbra show.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, Ivan. Tell me if this is not disrespecting me. I am sitting with company. My legs are crossed quite socially. When this lunch trigger misery embarrass me with damn foolery about woody. The audacity for not right to charge his backside with indecency. When my wife heard about the scandal, the shock was so great she ended up in hospital. From throughout the land, letters came to me, people offering their support and sympathy. A woman said, Shorty, I go pay all your lawyer fees. If only you could teach me the art of making pleas. How the PM could object when things like this is happening. I have a feeling, me singing, touch him where he's most lacking.
Cause I hear him say, Ivan Williams, I want to know why this love making calypso was put on the Masbra show.
Come on, Ivan. Tell me if this is not disrespecting me. I am sitting with my daughter and my partner wife from Jamaica, whose name I want to keep out this canker. When boldface has ever this fella gone up talking about soccer. Most irregular, make me look small. How a man could make love and still play football. While in Barbados, I got the news. Hudson Philip dropped the charges, I was so confused. A sigh of relief went through the country. All my fans happy, they say like afraid me. Why he dropped the charges so suddenly, we never knew. But we still maintain charging me was a damn fool thing to do. The PM get mad and slap Hudson Philip in the face. He say you're out of place to drop the case like Robinson. You get a taste and think you're the big bourgeois in the place. Then I hear him say,
Ivan Williams, I want to know why this love making calypso was put on the Masbra show.
Come on, Ivan. Tell me if this is not disrespecting me. A man such as I, way past 60. Damn it, Ivan, I am no baby. Now who the hell is Lord Shorty to advise me what to do in case of emergency? Tell him for me, 1970 emergency. This finger was no use to me. Carl told me, Shorty, don't make no fuss. It's not you we out to get me, boy, it's chalk dust. He cutting we up too much in his calypsos, so we want to jail him just like Chocolingo. This short good for nothing have everybody jiggery. Sometimes I myself just afraid, you see, I go in by me deputy. I take a chance and gonna buy she all night. I plan to stay while a day is song start to play. And me and a ray say they there.
So Shorty don't fret, because the PM want to know why your love making calypso was put on the master show.
Oh yes, I go on Moruga and invoke Nisa. I tell him fire the doctor, kick out the police commissioner. Let we push call for prime minister. Let the PM go and lie down on the bridge of troubled water. But I change his mind and bring him back to clean up all the mess he want to leave behind.
Jam over Calypso.
Yeah, boy. First time
It's
I
something
got
bad.
the whole thing, yeah.
No, that one bad.
Yeah, that's a bad one. That's a
That
bad one.
ran real bad.
Trevine, what do you think? Trevine, she gone?
No, I'm right here. I just like how the Calypsonians of old, to some degree, to some extent, they still do it. There's always an answer.
Yeah, you must answer. You
They
Gotta be
couldn't rest if they
fearless.
didn't say
One
something
time.
back.
Yeah,
They
one
wasn't
time.
waiting. You know, so I like that old style.
Yeah, he painted the duck like a real fufu man. Like, you know nothing about these things at all.
The duck used to get on so too, you know.
Yeah. Interesting. And you pong your partner, Shorty, Shorty, man.
Yeah, it's short one.
Anyway, later on, the professional tent, he and Shorty and Duke formed the professional tent.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't last too long, and just some of the pictures showing is he had a contract of Miss New World Beauty organization, where he signed a 5-year contract with the organization to promote beauty and their products. That's when in the era of the Love Man. And you see his outfit. Yeah, when he jumps with the chest open. Katie, what's the chest open? Katie?
Yes, Dr. Utley.
I don't hear you.
Yes, Dr. Utley.
Are you watching the picture?
Yes, I'm looking at the picture.
What do you think?
Nothing.
Yeah?
It's good.
You know, he have the real movie style look, eh?
Yeah, the Ray-Ban and the chest
Yeah,
open.
he
the
look real,
gold
yeah.
chain.
Movie style look. Signing a $1 million contract.
The studded jacket.
Yeah.
Tidy Black Elvis, you know.
The Black Elvis. Boy, the boy was inside. He was inside.
It is, you know.
One of the bigger albums.
Yeah.
Endless Vibrations. Professional Tent in 1976 when they started. The Duke and the cast, interesting cast. Shorty, Rigo, Duke, Wellington, Funny, Charles Byron, Lion, Rigo, Gypsy, Tallish.
No, that's not Twiggy, no.
No, that's Cheryl Byron.
Cheryl, yeah, okay.
When they again a creative way of adding diversity to the tent, they brought in a poet, Cheryl Byron, you know, add some new dimension to the tent. They didn't last too long. They lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And then a popular spot for him and Duke was the Penthouse.
You see what written on the ad? The Love Man and Cock of the Rock.
Yeah. And they both from South. One from Princeton and one from Point. You mean?
The Penthouse. I like it.
I plead the fifth.
No, but the reason I say that, I saw somebody profile have something about oil in the coil. So that's why. Anyway. So after composition Who God Bless in 1978, I took my mind off the whole thing and I began hearing new music in my ear, German music, and I started to put my heart towards it. And what is happening to, without even trying, people are saying all about Shorty's inventor of soca, I'm not even making a contribution to the discussion. So I believe that God is doing what he promised to do without having me intervene or anything. Okay, that's a little thing on Shorty. All right, before you all leave, just some information. Christian, is still there?
I am still here.
Okay. I don't know if it's confirmed, but I'm just going to share with you all that the 3 hour.
They sent a message that they're moving it to the 5th.
The 5th?
Yes. Which is a Wednesday.
All right. Okay, yeah, because I dropped. Okay. So on the 5th of May, Wednesday the 5th of May, we will be having our 3 hour exam and Calypso 10 studies. And the exam will be essay type and multiple choice. I think the essay type is worth 60% of the final mark, and the multiple choice 40%. So it's going to cover all that we have done from September to next week. I think next week should be our last class. So you'll have a week. You will have 2 weeks to review and revise and clarify. And also by next week, all your papers should be in. Right, people? Right, Trevine? Right, Kadeen? But I don't want to tell Shirley that. Shirley has been sending too early. Shirley has shown 2 weeks before. I don't understand.
Sorry.
I don't understand the rush, but anyway, I appreciate it. At least I could deal with that before all starts. So Wednesday the 5th, get ready, get prepared. Question, what's the format in terms of the online or what is it?
Yeah, it will be on Canvas.
On Canvas, okay. Yeah. So I don't have to be around at all.
I suppose just be by your phone in case something go wrong.
My phone don't work when exam going on.
Your phone no.
All right, folks. It was nice. Have a good evening. See you all on Thursday, please, God. Stay safe.
All right, well, take care. Bye, everyone.
And as the Calypso say, stay safe and stay inside.
That's only like Shorty.
Dr. Adley, before we go, Christian sign us off yet. I have someone here who has a question she wants to ask.
Who? Someone? Who is she?
The voice in the background.
Let me see her first. I answer her first. Then let's just turn the blank screen.
No.
Come quick now. Come quick.
Quick. Ask the question.
Pleasant good evening to Dr. Utley and the participants in the program. I have a question, a burning question that has been worrying me for quite some time. When you listen to the lyrical content of chutney music as compared to the utterances in the calypso soca/sloka renditions of things in the East Indian art form, how does it compare, one compared to the other? Because sometimes when you listen to what these people singing in chutney, and it is more degrading, to me, in my humble opinion, it is way more sexually suggestive and at times songs very degrading as compared to songs sung by Shorty and others. What do you think in this particular regard?
I don't think that's a question. I think chutney is based on sexuality and rum. and therefore the origin of it is to further cement those values in the community. So I don't compare the calypso at all. Calypso is based on history and protest and satire.
What I'm talking about is basically in terms of acceptance. Is it acceptable for them to sing it because chutney is their creation? Whereas
Yeah, I mean, once they don't I don't think it's art. Some of us may not see that as art, but it's art. It's a cultural art form, and that's their topics tend to be centered around mainly that sex and alcohol. There's nothing wrong with it if they want to sing it. I wouldn't be one of the colonial censors to censor the people music, but I think the point you're asking is whether or not there's a marked difference to how we treat calypso and as to how we treat the soca people.
Is there a double standard?
A double standard, yeah. I think that's the real question, and we could say yes, because but who are the ones who employ this double standard? It's mainly the African people. I don't think the East Indian community they like the calypso according to Sparrow Margin. They like the calypso. They jump out at time, but they like the calypso. You know, so that it's how we be our greatest critics of our own art forms.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Clarify
Yep.
a lot of information.
Let me
Thank
see your
you.
face. Let me see what they look like. So next time we see you.
I look like the 84-year-old woman looking for 20.
All right, Miss Briggs. I mean, that kind of friends you have in your house. No, man, Javid.
That is why she's so chatty.
Yeah, you like the kind of people around you could Javid, no, man.
Mrs. Briggs.
No wonder Katie can't say a word because with you and our friend of yours. Anyway, have a good night. Stay safe and stay.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe and stay inside.
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye-bye, Katie.
Bye, Katie and Javine and Chris.
Bye.
That's all.